A stirring rendition of our national anthem has us moments away from tonight's final home meet of the season for Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling. This third-year program getting set to meet Caldwell, their in-state rivals. They will face off in the CACC Cup on April 8th in what will be the second installment of the CACC Cup. Let's talk a little bit about an NCATA meet. It's a team competition that consists of 6 events. The first event is compulsory, then there's 3 heats within the acro event, then the pyramid event, and then it's halftime. After halftime, there's the toss event, the tumbling event, and the team event. A running score is kept throughout the meet, and the team with the most cumulative points at the end of all 6 events is the winner. The first event is compulsory. It consists of 4 heats, an acro heat, a pyramid heat, a toss heat, and a tumbling heat. The skills for the compulsory event represent the basic skills of the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. In this event, each team executes the same skills for direct comparison. Each heat begins with a starting value of 10. Officials are looking for execution, body position, and stability of structure. And getting set to take to the floor for the first time tonight, the Cougars of Caldwell in the compulsory acro heat. The start value, Sam, for this is 10.
Good to see those toe pitches to start. And those back tucks off.
Isabella Garcia is on the left. Caldwell having some trouble on the right, and they're forced to bail out with Cadence Vining. Sam, what'd you see that went wrong on that right side?
Yeah, I mean, they were holding strong from the beginning there, and I thought that that was going to be a good start for them. Obviously, they had a little mishap there. I think just the balance on that right side didn't get all the way up, and that's what caused them to fall there.
Now it is Georgian Court's turn. Their start value here is an 8, so a couple of points lower than Caldwell's. Georgian Court was neck and neck with Kutztown last week. Ultimately fell by almost 10 to the Golden Bears. And in just a moment, they'll take to the floor for the first time. We are told, Sam, that Georgian Court student athletes are all wearing different coordinating ribbons for various causes, and also a chance to represent loved ones that are important to them, and you can see the student athletes have them in their hair. We are just underway in this NCATA meet between Georgian Court and Caldwell. Georgian Court has LaSalle this weekend, and then they'll close out with Caldwell in the CACC Cup. Hard to believe, Sam, that this is year 3 and our final telecast of the night.
Yeah, flew by fast.
Sure did.
All right, seems like Georgian Court's going to hit the mat. A little bit of a different start value here. Caldwell with a 10.0, where Georgian Court will start with an 8.0.
Marilena Acosta is the counter. Luann LeGregan is on the left. Caroline Iacolo is on the right. Those are your tops.
You see those straight pop-offs, whereas Caldwell competed the back tuck off.
Now the duo gets set for the climb up. They transfer to one base. And the dismount.
So far, so good.
Here's the part where Caldwell ran into some difficulties. Straight up, Georgian court wobbling, but they fix it quickly. Arabesque. And down they go into the cradle dismount. And that was a nice job by the Georgian court left side to avoid a drop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, LeGregor held strong up there, so it was nice to see that there was no drop, but obviously they'll see some deduction for that wobble.
The second heats of the first event, which is compulsory, is the pyramid heat. The start value for Caldwell is a 10. It's going to be a 10 for them in every heat of compulsory, and there are 4 of them. The judges will keep a close eye during this heat for stability throughout the structure, and that starts from the bottom and works its way all the way to the top. And when the top rolls off the pyramid, judges look for tight, strong catches and no movements on the landing. And tonight's judges are Siobhan White, Pamela Garden, and Crystal Vandezilver. Earlier today, Georgian court women's lacrosse picked up a thrilling overtime win over Bridgeport. Michaela Scorado scoring with just a little bit more than a minute left in the extra period as Georgian court opened conference play with a win. And in a span of 5 days, Georgian court picked up 1-goal wins over the only 2 NCAA schools that compete with the nickname Purple Knights. Sam? Slow start for Georgian court women's lacrosse today, but you know what? In the end, you guys got a big win to start off the conference slate, and you'll see post on Friday.
Yeah, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Here we go with compulsory pyramid. The start value for Caldwell is a 10. The top on the left is Mariana Aiello. Well, she's the middle base, I should say. Now she's going to support that structure and lift up Isabella Garcia. It is Cadence Vining on the right.
And those were strong.
Want to shout out Aiello. And also want to recognize Jill Riggio. As a 4-year member of the team, it was those 2 student athletes that were the middle of the pyramid. On the thigh stand. A little bit more on Caldwell. They announced the addition of acrobatics and tumbling in March of 2021. They were the first New Jersey university to offer this sport. At the time, it was their 17th varsity sport. Amira Boyd is the 3rd-year head coach, a 4-year member of the Presbyterian acrobatics and tumbling team. She was a part of the first ever acrobatics and tumbling team at Presbyterian. During the 2020 season, she is a level 10 gymnast, and the 3rd-year head coach comes into the meet with a 9-7 mark. Her assistant coach, Elia Cardone, a former student athlete at Caldwell. As for Georgian court, 1st-year head coach Mags Gelati, she was the assistant coach last year. The 2024 graduate of Fairmont State, was a 4-year member of the acrobatics and tumbling team, and with the Falcons, she competed in 3 NCATA National Championship meets. Start value for Georgian court is a 10, their first 10 start value of the meet. And the tops remain the same, LeGregan and Iacolo. The high stand pyramid for Georgian court. The tops are going to 180 glide up to the top. Here they come.
You see those straddle holds at the top? And those popovers. Pretty clean.
Clean indeed for Georgian court. And let's turn our attention to the compulsory toss, the 3rd of 4 heats in our first event. The start value for Caldwell is 10. This is Georgian court's flip for a cause meet. That's why we mentioned earlier the student athletes are wearing different coordinating ribbons to represent causes and loved ones that are important to them. All the student athletes have the ribbons in their hair. Caldwell going over final preparations before they get set to come out and wow the judges with the compulsory toss. 4 bases are going to use all their strength and power to throw the top through the center. And what judges are looking for, strong catches and no steps coming from the bases. I got a question here for you, Sam. These two teams are playing tonight, or facing off, and certainly you want to win. But the big one between these two is the CACC Cup on April 8th. You think that at all plays a little bit in the factor that Georgian Court having lower start values tonight? Maybe they don't want to show everything to Caldwell?
Yeah, I definitely think that that can play a factor. I mean, not showing everything sometimes is a good thing, but you want to be able to practice that in meets as well, so you're used to the pressure.
Here's the compulsory toss. On the left, Vining. On the right, Kimura Bush.
All right, see those back tucks. Good height. Came down, landed it.
Caldwell is fired up. Bush is the one that is first off the mat, the sophomore from Newark. Georgian Court start value is also at 10. Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling is brought to you in part by Castle Interactive, Garden Savings Federal Credit Union, and Kessler Rehabilitation Center. They are the official physical therapy partner of Georgian Court Athletics. Here's a little bit more on Georgian Court. In August of 2022, GCU announced the addition of acrobatics and tumbling. It became Georgian Court's 15th varsity sport, their 9th women's program, and the first addition to the athletics department since men's lacrosse was announced in 2014. Of course, since acrobatics and tumbling has been announced, Georgian Court added their 16th varsity sport in baseball. So this is the 3rd year of the program, from 1-6 to 3-4 to entering tonight at 2-2 with 2 meets left after tonight. LeGregan on the left, Yakalo on the right, Chloe Jorgensen is the counter.
All right, we're going to see those back tucks again.
And we saw those strong catches with no steps from the bases. That's what the judges are looking at. Now it's the compulsory tumbling, and the start value for Caldwell is a 10. 8 tumblers are required for this heat. If you have less than 8, there will be a deduction. Georgian Court has 7. Judges are looking for stuck landings, feet and knees squeezing together, and synchronization.
Yeah, so we talk about this part of the event a lot, with the mat being a dead mat. It's hard to do a lot of that standing tumbling, but as long as you have enough power, you should be able to complete it. And you'll see that Caldwell does have 4 athletes out there. 8, my bad, 4 on each side.
And off they go.
Standing back tucks. Straddle jump to a standing back tuck. All lands so far. Back handspring, back tuck. 1, no back tuck. So I wonder if they take some point deduction for that. You see that round up back handspring layout.
Tell you what, Caldwell looks very strong. It's kind of reminiscent of what we saw with Kutztown last week. They had to abort out of their opening heat to avoid a drop. And then after that, it kind of serves as a wake-up call, and it's been smooth sailing since.
Yeah, I mean, might have ourselves another back-to-back meet with a little bit of edge over one of another.
Yeah, that one was exciting. It was tight all the way through, but ultimately it was Kutztown that bested Georgian Court. So now Georgian Court gets set for the compulsory tumbling. One more thing, if you're new to watching Acrobatics and Tumbling, the scores are held at the judges table. As soon as they turn green in the tracking sheet and Joe Hoffman, the public address announcer, starts reading them, then we can report them. So we're not keeping them from our viewers. We honestly don't know them. It's one little thing that's different from like basketball or soccer or lacrosse. You know what the score is constantly. That is not the case in Acrobatics and Tumbling. We don't know the score until the end of the event. The judges keep it, but it doesn't become public knowledge until after the event is over. So once Georgian Court completes the compulsory tumbling heat, the judges will make public the overall score from the compulsory event and each heat, and then we can pass them along. That's why there's these delays in between each heat, because it's the judges right now going into the tracking sheet and making their deductions and whatnot, and then it'll be published. Nice crowd on hand. A lot of Georgian Court supporters. Nice turnout for Caldwell. More than an hour trip for them. Here's Georgian Court, a start value of 8. And Sam, this is where we were talking a little bit about and why you counted the Caldwell student athletes. Georgian Court has just 7, and you need 8, so there will be a deduction.
Yes. See those standing back tucks. One little step out there. See that stretch jump into a back tuck. A little bit different than Caldwell. Back handspring into a stretch jump.
And here comes the final portion. The athletes move to the left of the mat.
See those round up back handspring, back tucks. You see, Andrew, I mean, we saw the difference between Georgian Court and Caldwell there, and that's why their start values are different. Some of them, you saw Georgian Court compete more stretch jumps, whereas Caldwell opted for straddle jumps, a little bit higher of a difficulty.
And that is the end of our first event, the compulsory. To event 2 we go, the acro event. This marks the beginning of the optional portion of the meet. Each team competes with skills that are previously chosen with different possible start values. There will be between 2 and 4 athletes on the floor in each of the 3 heats. Heat 1 has 5 elements. Heat 2 has 6 elements. Heat 3 has 7 elements. The start value is determined by the difficulty and combination of each skill. In addition, each position must be held for 3 seconds. The acro event demonstrates power, strength, and balance. And up first, as is always the case in an NCATA meet, the visitors, so Caldwell will compete in the 5-element heat, and their start value is a 9.65. Caldwell lost to Morgan State on March 18th, 239.725 to 211.56. 3 straight losses for Caldwell after a season opening win over second-year program AIC, but the competition has been tough for both of these teams. Caldwell with losses to LIU, Hawaii Pacific, and Morgan State. Georgian Court with losses to LIU and Kutztown, wins over AIC and Stevenson. So each heat in the acro event adds 1 element, the 5 element, then the 6, and then the 7. For all the latest news and notes surrounding Georgian Court athletics, be sure to venture over to gclions.com. Schedules, photo galleries, recaps, and much more on GCUlions.com. And on the homepage right now, Georgian Court's win earlier today over Bridgeport in women's lacrosse. Here come the scores.
Total scores for the compulsory event: Caldwell 28.5, Georgian 26.15.
Caldwell has 28.5 after the compulsory event. Georgian Court with 26.15. In the acro heat, 6.2 for Georgian Court, 4.65 for Caldwell. In the pyramid, 8.8 for Georgian Court, 9.45 for Caldwell. In the toss, 8.3 for Georgian Court, 8.85 for Caldwell. And in the tumbling, Sam, it's where it hurt Georgian Court at 2.85. Caldwell a 5.55. They have the lead after the first event. Five elements. This is Isabella Garcia, the senior, a 4-year member of the Caldwell Acrobatics and Tumbling team.
We're going to see that 180 pop around. Into that back layout.
Now Garcia will climb up.
Now, the student athletes, when they get up there in their inversion, are supposed to hold for 3 seconds. So a little quick there, so that's going to cost her some points. But overall, just a slight wobble. Pretty clean.
Georgian Court has a start value of 9.65 in the 5-element heats. Luann LeGregan, Carly Izzo, Ali Pompliano, Isabella Jones, Ashley Salveson will be the student athletes for the 5-element heats. Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling. The action unfolding inside the Wellness Center.
Next up, the Acro 5-element. Start value 9.65, Georgian Lions.
So here come the Lions. $9.65 is the start value. LeGregan with the toe pitch. Izzo is the base, the LIU transfer.
See those pop arounds require a lot of strength. We're going to see that back tuck off.
Now LeGregan does the 180 pop around twice, so she ends up the way she started. That was smooth from Georgian Court.
And that pike down. Definitely a good start in the acro event for them.
The 6-element heat is up in a moment. Start value for Caldwell, a 9.35. Two groups out of the mat, synchronizing the same 6 elements. And so that's the key, right? They need to be synchronized, because if they're not, there will be deductions. While we have a moment, let's thank our great team from Georgian Court Volleyball, Ziana Frazier and Kyla Davis. My partner, Sam Hosford, our producer, the director of digital media, Robbie Fitzpatrick. I'm Andrew Byrne. We thank you for spending your Tuesday night tuned into the CACC Digital Network. Georgian Court and Caldwell. This is Georgian Court's final home meets of the season. $9.35 is the start value for Caldwell. And here come the Cougars. This is the Acro 6 element. Mariah Sims on your left, Cadence Vining on your right.
See that toe pitch to start with that back layout off. Those straddle holds.
So far they look pretty synchronized. Now this will be the hard part, transferring to one base.
But they completed it. I would say that was a strong heat for them.
CU looking very sharp in the early going. Georgian Court's start value is a 9.3. While we have a moment, want to tell our viewers there's a change in the schedule. Georgian Court Baseball going to make up a game with Lincoln that was rained out earlier in the month. The new date is this Thursday. The new time is noon at the Jackson Justice Complex. Then Saturday, Georgian Court Baseball has a doubleheader against the Chargers from Dominican University, New York. And game 1 of that twin bill is also starting at noon from Jackson. 9.3 start value for Georgian Court. This is event number 2, heat number 2, the Acro 6 element. Georgian Court came in trailing 28.5 to 26.15. The left is Bailey Bonilla. The right top is Caroline Yakalo.
Let's see those 180 pop arounds again. Into those back tucks off.
Now the next part of the 6 element. There's the inversion, now the transfer.
A little early on the left side there.
Pretty solid for Georgian Court, but as Sam mentioned right at the end, the left released early, and there will be deduction there because the judges are looking for synchronization. The Acro 7 element heat is up now. 9.95 out of 10 is the start value for Caldwell. They're having a great time on their warm-up mats. 24 on the roster. And what's crazy is in their first year of competition, they had only 13. They've slowly but surely built the roster up to 24. Third-year head coach Amira Boyd's done a nice job. the second year in a row they've had 24. 5 freshmen, 9 sophomores, 5 juniors, 4 seniors, 1 graduate student on this CU team. And at the end of tonight's meet, Sam, we'll be seeing CU April 8th for the second meet between these two. And that's the CACC Cup. This one's important, but it's kind of like a tune-up because whoever wins that one gets the cool hardware.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're definitely working for at that end point of the season.
You get a look at Caldwell, right side of your screen, waiting to be summoned onto the mat. The reason for the delays is the judges are inputting the scores into the tracking sheets. Here we go, 7 element. Cadence Vining is the top, the senior from Latham, New York. 180 pop around. Now they're gonna do the assisted pop around.
Just a little extra stability on that. And we're gonna see that back layout off. A little bit wobbly on the end there. Straddle hold to the inversion.
Now the transfer as Megan Lufke releases.
And that dismount.
Janessa Morales was the base at the end that was in charge of supporting Vining, and the junior from Hamburg, New Jersey, did everything perfectly. Georgian court now. The start value, 9.60. This acro event packed with bonuses for Georgian court. And we're going to see it in the 7 element heats. Georgian court working in a handstand, and there's going to be a straddle down and a pop over inversion. So it's known as adding skills. They're ranked on letters. Georgian court's going to look to complete a C-D-C-C connection, and if they do, a .25 will be the connection bonus.
This is where you'll also see, though, Caldwell start to stretch that lead a little bit more. Their start value there was a 9.95, whereas Georgian Courts is going to be a 9.65. And as we talked to Coach beforehand, but they are playing a little bit safe, 9.6 on that start value, with playing a little bit safe, hopefully, this meet. But see, with that, you have to make sure that every piece of your event and heat pretty much is executed.
Yeah, asked Coach Gelati if they would keep the start values as high as they were last week against Kutztown, maybe go higher, and she said, look, in the middle of the season, second meet in as many weeks, there's some fatigue setting in, some injuries, so the start values are going to be a little bit lower, and then they're going to ramp up again because Georgian Court has another meet on Sunday against Division I LaSalle, and then Caldwell on April 8th. There'll be a little bit more time in between to stretch those start values. Luann LeGregan is the top for Georgian Court, the junior from Freehold, New Jersey.
See that back tuck off. Very solid to start.
3-year member of the Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling team.
And we talk about all the time how much strength that takes to come down into that straddle hold.
Now one base is coming. It's Caitlin Meyer. Mirasol is let go.
And very clean.
You could make an argument that that was the best heat of the night thus far for Georgian Court. Their reaction tells the story as you see them go through the handshake and high five line.
And we did just talk about that. If you're going to start with a little bit of a lower start value, you want to make sure that you're pretty perfect when you get out there.
To the third event and the final event of the first half we go. It's the pyramid event. Athletes are attempting to build 3 layers in a structure. The start value of each heat determined by the difficulty and combination of the entry, the structure, the dismount, and the top body position. The pyramid event has 3 different heats, and there are different requirements for each heat. Heat 1 must have an inversion. Heat 2 must be synchronized, while Heat 3 is an open heat. Two important things to remember. The judges want to see position of the top and stability of the structure. We're going to take a break as they are calculating the scores. Back inside the GCU Wellness Center, here come the scores for the acro event.
Georgian Court 8.3. The total for the acro heat, Caldwell 22.4. Georgian Court 23.55. And the right scores for the first two events, Caldwell 50.9. Georgian Court 49.7.
Things have grown tighter. Here are the scores in the acro 5-element heat. Georgian Court 8.5. Caldwell 7.75 in the 6-element, Georgian Court 6.75. Caldwell 7.4 in the 7-element, Georgian Court 8.3. Caldwell 7.25. Georgian Court makes up some ground, 23.55 to 22.40. So the score after two, 50.9 for Caldwell, 49.7 for Georgian Court. And here is Caldwell with the inversion pyramid and a start value of 9.5.
We're going to see those thigh stands to start. And then this is when it starts to get complicated. You're stacking athletes on top of athletes here.
Sure are. Isabel Garcia perched on the shoulders of Janessa Morales. Two bottom bases.
And they stuck it. All right, good start.
Morales caught nicely by her teammate. She is the junior from Hamburg, New Jersey, who graduated from Sussex County Tech. Georgian Court's inversion pyramid has a slightly higher start value than Caldwell, 9.7.
So overall in this event, Andrew, for Georgian Court, they're going to start with a 29.7 overall, whereas Caldwell will start with a 29.4. So if Georgian Court can execute here, they might be able to pick up some of those small points in here.
You know, you and I talked a little bit about, we thought that 7-element was the best for Georgian Court, and the judges agreed. 8.3 for them. Caldwell got 7.25, and there was really where Georgian Court made up some ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they got to do, and we talked about that. Starting off in that smaller start value range, you got to make sure that you make those moves as perfect as possible.
Next inversion pyramid, the start value of 9.7, the Georgian Court Lions.
Georgian Court on to the mat. The top for the Lions will be Luann LeGregan.
And they will start with a little bit of a higher start value here, 9.7 compared to Caldwell's 9.5.
Kimberly Shadwell, Kaylee Gonzalez, the bases on the bottom. Emily Miller is part of the mid base. So too is Gianna Mirasol. Georgian Court needed to get out of that in a hurry, protect the student athletes. Wise decision there by LeGregan to hit the eject button.
And we just talked about how this portion of the meet would have helped Georgian Court get up in points a little bit, but that is definitely going to cost them.
I asked you, when Caldwell had difficulty in the first heat, what did you see from Georgian Court that went wrong? Because it seemed pretty quickly LeGregan sensed trouble.
Yeah, I mean, when you get up there in that handstand, you can feel which side it's swaying to. I mean, you really have to keep it centered and in the middle. So it could be about balance there, could be about the stability of the bases. Just depending, obviously, she's at the top there. She felt that she needed to bail out of that. So I feel that it all depends on the balance coming from all the way from the top all the way to the bottom.
Our second heat in pyramids is the synchronized pyramids. Both teams have 10 start values. In fact, both teams have 10 start values for the third and final heat. And then it is time for dinner, also known as halftime. 15 minutes will be up on the clock. And there will be a mass exodus inside the Wellness Center to get to the concession stands. that are staffed tonight by Georgian Court men's and women's basketball.
Up first, the start value of 9.9, Caldwell Cougars.
Here is Caldwell with the synchronized pyramids. And we are going to see the bridge. The left base is Mariana Aiello. The right is Megan Lufke. Jada Soto on the left. Cadence Vining, the top on the right.
You see those straddle holds at the top? With that twist dismount. I would say they should be pretty happy with that performance there. Kept it clean, no falls.
I feel like you can get a pretty good sense if the team is happy or not based on the reaction. And several times tonight, Caldwell has been very loud, very happy.
I would say so there. That was probably their loudest moment, but I agree.
Synchronized pyramid, Georgian Court's turn. They have a start value of 10. We're going to see freshman Amy Groschke here. She's going to step up to glide in this pyramid. The rest are mainly juniors and seniors.
Next up, the synchronized pyramid, the start value of 10.0, Georgian Court.
Georgian Court also is going to have their bottom bases bridge. And here go the Lions. LeGregan, the top on the left. Iacolo, the top on the right. And boy, they got the 270 glide from the ground to the top quickly.
And again with those straddle holds up top. Twisting down into that dismount, full 360 twist. I would say that makes up for what happened in that first heat for them.
Kimberly Shadwell and Emily Miller deserve recognition. Those were the two bottom bases who were bridging third and final heat of the acro event. Of the pyramid event. That's the open pyramid. And again, both teams have start values of 10. Alongside Sam Hosford, I'm Andrew Bird. We thank you for tuning in tonight on the CACC Digital Network for Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling against Caldwell. 50.9 for Caldwell, 49.7 for Georgian Court through the first two events. This is the third event and the third and final heat of the third event, known as the pyramid event. As soon as both teams go through their heats, we'll pause for halftime, and then we'll give you the scores. We have a great interview at halftime coming up with the Director of Integrative Health, Sachiko Kamagata, talking about the Japanese tea garden on campus. Here come the Cougars. Bridge Pike Pyramid. Vining is the top, number one in red.
We're going to see that pike hold at the top. This is a strong event for Caldwell thus far.
And Janessa Morales and Mariana Aiello have really done a nice job. final heat of the first half, and Georgian Court has a start value of 10. Almost all of the Georgian Court seniors are going to take part in this heat. Ava Margali is going to be the bridge base. Gianna Mirasol will be the mid. Kim Shadwell is going to be catching. Kate Meyer is going to be counting. Emily Miller is going to be gliding. And then it will be time for the half. And again, stick with us. We'll get you the scores. Probably not until the tail end of halftime. That's traditionally how it's happened here at Georgian Court. But we do have a fun interview. Georgian Court is one of the rare universities that has a Japanese tea garden. There's going to be an event tied into that in early May. And Sachiko Kamagata, who was inside the Lions' Den to talk about the Wellness Expo that recently was held on campus, she was gracious enough to stop by and talk a little bit about the Japanese tea garden. And later in the semester, we have an interview with her about Walk with a Doc. Get a chance to walk with a doctor and talk about your health and healing and a holistic approach. Here comes Georgian Court. The start value is 10. Last chance to impress the judges in the first half and try to make up for having to hit the eject button earlier in this heat. So it starts with the bridge base. Bridge pike pyramid, similar to Caldwell. Ava Margulies is the bridge base. The top is Luann LeGregan.
See that pike hold at the top again. Clean. That should help them out.
Sam, before we head to halftime, your impressions of this first half, Georgian Court and Caldwell?
I mean, I feel like they've made a few mistakes, but overall I think they've made up for it, and they've had some strong events coming out of the first half. On the other opposing side of that, Caldwell had that first mistake in the beginning, but then came out strong after that. So we will see what the halftime scores will end up being.
And out of halftime we go, and we are set to begin the second half. Here is the score. Caldwell, 76.85 through 3. Georgian Court with a 73.9. Caldwell at a 25.95 in the pyramid. Georgian Court at a 24.2. And we are set to begin the second half. Hope you had an enjoyable 15-minute halftime. We played that interview with the Director of Integrative Health, Sachiko Kamagata. And now we are ready for the second half. So the teams go through their final preparation. Sam, your overall thoughts of the scores now that they're in. Caldwell, a little bit of separation on Georgian Court, and they did in fact take advantage of Georgian Court having to eject out of that second heat in the pyramids.
I mean, we talked about that earlier, Andrew. It's having to be perfect in those moments and not make those big mistakes, which obviously Caldwell was able to emphasize a little bit more on there. So Georgian Court has a little bit of making up to do.
The fourth event is getting set to commence. That is the toss event. Here you'll see 4 athletes toss a teammate into the air. The teammate tossed in the air is the top. They'll execute a flip or a twist before they're caught. There are 3 heats in this event. The synchronized toss features 2 toss groups. These groups need to look exactly alike. The start value of the toss depends on skills that the top executes in the air. Officials are looking for height, the top's body position, and tight catches by the bases. The names of the heat: the salto heat, the synchronized heat, and the open heat. And in the salto heat, the start value for Caldwell is an 8. 8.8. Now here we go, partner. The start of the second half. Caldwell is in full swing. Cadence Vining is the top. There she goes.
And we're going to see that back tuck toss. A little bit of a struggle on the landing there, but they managed to save it.
Georgian Court has a start value of 8.8. It's a slight edge for Georgian Court overall in the toss event. Teams will have identical tosses for Heat 1 and 2, but Georgian Court will start a 10th higher in the open toss. Judges will pay attention to the height, technique, and they want to see strong catches from the base groups with no steps. So to Sam's moniker, no wobbles and bobbles. And Sam, how is the trademark drive for that going? The T-shirts made yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying my best to get that trademarked, but, you know, slow and moving. It's lacrosse season, Andrew.
Fair enough. Speaking of lacrosse, nice win for Georgian Court today in overtime. That one worth the price of admission. Georgian Court outlasting Bridgeport by 1. Lions dug themselves out of an early 3-goal deficit. And then Michaela Scarano on a free position fired one past the Bridgeport netminder, Amber Militrano, and Georgian Court started conference play 1-0. They'll have another Connecticut school on Friday. No weekend games for a while, Sam. A lot of midweek games. You'll finally get a weekend game against Wilmington. Early April will be there for coverage.
No March weekend games.
Yeah, rarity, right?
Yeah.
Did you like it, though?
Yeah, it's nice to have a little break.
Here's Georgian Courts.
Same as Caldwell there with a back tuck toss. Less wobbly at the bottom, so we might see a little bit of a higher score for Georgian Court on that as Caldwell.
The top for Georgian Court was the Point Pleasant, New Jersey product. Caroline Iacolo, 3-year member of the team, was a gymnast at Point Pleasant Borough High School. Start value for the Cougars in the synchronized toss is an 8.8. Again, these teams have identical start values in the first two heats. It's the open toss heat, the third and final heat of the toss event where Georgian Court is a little separation, 9 to 8.9. But as Sam said, maybe there's a little area to pick up. Maybe half a point or a quarter of a point. That catch to the ground for Georgian Court just a little bit cleaner than Caldwell in the 450 Salto toss. Now it is time for the synchronized toss. Caldwell summoned onto the mat. So you'll have two toss groups, and synchronized gives it away. They want to mirror each other. That's what the judges look for. Vining on the left. Kimora Bush is the top on the right.
I would say that was pretty synchronized, Andrew.
I was going to say, I was looking, that's kind of like when you're growing up and you're looking, you play the game, can you spot the difference?
Yeah.
I didn't really see many differences to spot there for the Cougars. Georgian Court, they ready for the synchronized toss. 8.8 is the start value. A reminder, Georgian Court, Acrobatics and Tumbling. This is their final home meet of the season. They do have 2 meets left at Division I LaSalle on Sunday at 2. A rare Sunday meet for Georgian Court. Might be the first Sunday meet in the history of the program. Caldwell on April 8th in the second installment of the CACC Cup. Caldwell won it last year. Georgian Court looks to come home with the trophy this season. No start time yet. And check that, it is, 6 p.m. is the start time for that. Quick look at the Georgian Court schedule. You know, we like to see if something is a milestone or not. And that meet on Sunday against LaSalle is going to be the first time in the history of the program that Georgian Court will have competed on a Sunday.
We'll see if that changes anything.
Yeah, it might change the schedule a little bit. Figure they'll probably practice at least Friday. You wonder if they will have the day off on Saturday. Here's Georgian Court. LeGregan is the top on the left. Yakalo is the top on the right for the Lions.
All right, we're going to see those same back tuck tosses.
Look pretty similar to Caldwell. The final toss heat is the open toss. Start value for Caldwell is an 8.9. Caldwell's going to attempt something known as the back pike open. The judges want to see a defined pike shape, and then that will transition to a flat body open before the student athlete lands on the mat. We're going to take a short break on the CACC Digital Network. And we are ready for the final heat of the fourth event. Here's the open toss, and here come the Cougars. Judges want to see a defined pike shape. Kimora Bush is the top, the gymnast out of Overbrook Senior High School.
Oh, and we're going to see a back tuck instead of a pike there.
I was going to say, that didn't look like a pike, and Caldwell changes what they had planned. Start value for Georgian Court. This is where they are a little bit higher than the Cougars by just a tenth of a point. Their start value is a 9. For Georgian Court, they're going to attempt a back layout toss, we think. If they do, judges want to see a fully laid out and flat body position with no pike in the hips. They want to see height and a clean catch from the bases. Following event 4, we'll talk a little bit about the tumbling event. That is where Georgian Court this year has really made up ground on opponents. They have excelled in the tumbling event. There are 6 heats. More on that shortly. Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling is brought to you in part by Shore Volleyball Academy, Bob McCloskey Insurance, Stouts Transportation, and Capricci. We thank our sponsors for their support all season long on the CACC Digital Network.
Next up on the open toss, with a start value of 9.0, Georgian Court.
Georgian Court into the center of the mat. Luann LeGregan is the top.
And we're going to see that layout. Pretty smooth.
To the 5th event, the penultimate event of the meet. That is the tumbling event. 6 heats. The most heats of any event. The first 3 are synchronized group tumbling passes, the duo, the trio, and the quad. The last 3 are individual tumbling passes. The start value of each heat determined by the difficulty and combination of skills in each pass. Officials are looking for body position, continuity of skills, and technique in each skill. The scores are coming up. Improvement for Georgian Court. And here come the duo tumbling passes. Caldwell up first.
See a round off into a full twisting layout.
Start value an 8. The student athletes that just completed the first tumbling pass. Alexa Bain, the junior out of Kingwood Township, New Jersey. Jackie Vereen, the sophomore out of Suffolk, Virginia. Georgian Court We'll have Luann LeGregan and Ali Pompliano. Georgian Court has made upgrades, so their synchronized passes will have higher start values, something we saw last week as well for Georgian Court. Toss, heat, scores. Each team got 7.45 in the first heat. Georgian Court at a Caldwell at a 7.45 in Heat 2. Georgian Court a 6.8 in Heat 3. 7 for Caldwell, 7.9 for Georgian Court. Georgian Court outscored Caldwell in the fourth event, 22.15 to 21.9. And Sam, the deficit is 2.7 coming in. And you were right on this early. You said we might see it come down to the team event like we did last week. We're certainly headed that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been a close meet thus far.
Georgian Court's Ali Pompliano and Luann LeGregan.
We're going to see that front handspring step out, round off back handspring, full twisting layout.
That's why Georgian Court's been so splendid in the tumbling passes this season. This is their event to shine, and they're off to a great start. The trio tumbling pass. Each team adds a student athlete. Start value for both teams here is an 8. Kamora Bush, Jill Riggio, and Noraya Sims are the 3 student athletes for Caldwell. Kamora Bush is the sophomore from Newark. She was a member of the gymnastics team at Overbrook Senior High School. Jill Riggio, the senior out of East Windsor, New Jersey, 4-year member of the team. Level 10 gymnast out of Arena Gymnastics. She was a 2020 Level 10 New Jersey State qualifier. And Noraya Sims, number 13 in the red out of Bayonne, New Jersey. She was a cheerleader at Bayonne High School.
We have moved on to the trio pass. Up first with a start value of 8.0 for Caldwell, number 2, Kamora Bush. Number 7, Jill Riggio. Number 13, Noraya Sims.
Start value again for Caldwell in the trio tumbling pass, an 8.
There we go. Front handspring step out, round off back handspring, full twisting layout.
Caldwell's not messing around. They too perform very well in the tumbling passes. Had a good start for them. Georgian Court also has a start value of 8. Amy Groschke, Gianna Mirasol, and Hannah Koval. 2 freshmen competing in this for Georgian Court. Groschke's the freshman from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Team captain at Donovan Catholic High School and a 3-year letter winner in the sport of cheerleading. Gianna Mirasol, our viewers know that name, 3-year member. The Tabernacle, New Jersey native, is a graduate of Seneca High School. And finally for Georgian Court, it is Hannah Koval, another one of the talented freshmen. She is from Allenwood, New Jersey, and she was a member of the Wall High School gymnastics team. Final home meet of the season for Georgian Court Acrobatics and Tumbling. Our great team, our camera operators, Ziana Frazier, Kyla Davis from Georgian Court Volleyball. Our producers, Robbie Fitzpatrick, my partner, Sam Hosford. I'm Andrew Byrne. You are watching the 5th of 6 events. This is the tumbling event, and we're almost a third of the way through. This is Georgian Court's turn at the trio tumbling pass. Koval, Mirasol, Groschke.
And they're off. Round up, back handspring, full twisting layout.
So far, though, Georgian Court, to the naked eye, appears to have a slight edge over Caldwell. Probably close, but at least through the first 2 passes. We'll see how accurate that was when the scores come in from the judges.
Absolutely.
To the third heat, the quad tumbling pass. We go from 2 to 3 to 4 student athletes. This is where Caldwell has an opportunity to add to their lead. A 7.25 is their start value. Let's meet the participants. Holly Bruffy, freshman out of North Halloran, New Jersey, was a 3-year letter winner in track at Eastern Christian High School. Mariana Aiello, the junior from Concord, California, a level 9 gymnast. She was the Woman of Courage recipient. We have Avery Dunn, the sophomore out of Chalfont, Pennsylvania. She's lived in Canada, Alabama, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Gymnast at Central Bucks High School South. And we have Isabella Garcia, the senior from South River, New Jersey, 4-year member of the team. Happy to be back competing. Missed all of last season with an injury. She was a gymnast at St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Sam. Also, the Greater Middlesex Conference champion in wrestling. A lot of multi-sport athletes.
That will do it.
When you were a gymnast growing up, could you have ever envisioned that years later you'd be helping out on acrobatics and tumbling broadcast?
I did not think this would be a thing, Andrew.
Well, I know our fans appreciate it. We've certainly brought more exposure to the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. Our third year of broadcasting acrobatics and tumbling, our third year of Sam Hosford and myself. It has been fun. We've kind of learned on the fly of the way to bring our viewers acrobatics and tumbling, a little bit different than other sports in terms of the scoring. Here is Caldwell.
All right, we're heading into that quad.
7.25 start value.
Round off, back handspring, back layout. And no steps, that's important.
Amira Boyd, the third-year head coach, loves the effort from Caldwell. Now it is Georgian courts. 6.75 here, so a lower start value. Bailey Bonilla, the sophomore out of Colonia, New Jersey, who graduated from Colonia High School and joined the team prior to the start of the season, is competing. Ashley Salveson, second-year member out of Old Bridge, New Jersey, who was a swimmer and a gymnast at St. Johnny Vianney High School. Caroline Iacolo, the 3-year member of this acrobatics and tumbling team at Georgian Court out of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. She was a gymnast in high school at Point Pleasant Borough High. And Caitlin DePasquale, the sophomore out of Manalapan, New Jersey. Her second year on the team. She too was a gymnast at Manalapan High School, the home of the Braves.
And we talked about those start values and how they are going to become an important factor as this meet goes on. So Caldwell there started with a 7.25 in the quad. Whereas Georgian Court will start with a 6.75.
They did, and that's a chance, right, for Caldwell to make up any ground that Georgian Court might have already clawed back in the first couple. But later, Georgian Court has increased their start values, so we'll have to see. Here comes Georgian Court's turn in the quad. So lower start value. And Georgian Court with a round-off, back handspring, back tuck. Overall, Sam, do you think that the athletes were able to stick the back tuck with no steps?
Yeah, I think that was pretty smooth. Synchronized, maybe a little seconds off, but other than that, I mean, the big thing is no falls at the end of the day.
Yeah, and also, we were talking a little bit with Coach Gelati before the meet. She said, look, in the quad we have a lower start value, so I need Bailey, Ashley, Caroline, and Caitlin to get as little deductions as possible. Stick that back tuck. Be synchronized. Don't add any extra steps or bobbles. And overall, look like Georgian Court. Listen to the first-year head coach. We head to the aerial solo pass. Start value for Caldwell, 8.6. This heat must see the student-athlete complete an aerial salto element. For Caldwell, Jackie Vereen will be competing. She's the sophomore out of Suffolk, Virginia, the level 10 gymnast who's both a base and tumbler for Caldwell. She is one of 9 sophomores on this Caldwell team. They have 24 on the roster for the second consecutive season. So Vereen's going to start at the top right corner.
All right, we're going to see a front handspring step out. Front tuck, round off. And I believe she only competed the back tuck at the end there. No twist.
Vereen trots off. And now it is Georgian court. Hannah Caldwell. Her aerial salto element is going to be a front tuck. Start value 8.6. We've heard about Hannah already tonight in the tumbles, but she is the freshman from Allenwood, New Jersey. Number 16 in the white, blue, and gold is a former member of the Wall High School gymnastics team. And while we wait for Hannah to take to the mat, a little bit of the history of the NCATA. It was created in 2009, one of only 2 varsity sports, with football being the other, to be founded at the collegiate level. Typically, a sport is started at the youth or professional ranks. This sport is a combination of gymnastics and competitive cheerleading. The first season of competition was during the 2010-2011 school year. There are currently 53 institutions that offer acrobatics and tumbling, 12 of them in Division I, 28 of them in Division II, 12 in Division III, 1 in NAIA. Shawnee State is currently applying for Division II status. Here is Hannah Caldwell.
All right. Front handspring, front tuck, round off, back handspring, back tuck. So same thing as Caldwell there. Both of them were supposed to start with an 8.6 start value. And they both were supposed to complete that back twisting layout, but they both had to revert to a back tuck at the end.
The 6-element solo pass, 8.35 is the start value for Caldwell, and it is the sophomore out of Bayonne, New Jersey, Nariah Sims. Former cheerleader at Bayonne High School. Don't forget, after this, it is the fan favorite, what we like to call organized chaos, the team event. 2 minutes, 45 seconds on the clock, with an opportunity to show off for the judges everything that went on during the meet in a condensed version set to music with a routine ending in dance. It came down to the team event last week, and Georgian court was right there at Kutztown, but several mishaps down the stretch, including an unfortunate drop, led to Kutztown pulling away from Georgian courts. And we might be headed that way again, because we entered with Caldwell slightly in front of Georgian court, 98.75 to 96.05. Here is Sims. A nice wave to the crowd as she is announced.
All right, we're going to see a round off, whip, back handspring, back handspring, back handspring, full twisting layout, and saved it at the end there.
Probably going to get a slight reduction from the wobble. Did go off the mat just a little bit on the landing, but she averted any kind of fall that would have led to a bigger point reduction. So that is a very good save, as you mentioned, from Sims. Great camera work, by the way, by Ziana Frazier. Georgian court volleyball. Kylie Davis is down on the floor. Our great crew, we have Aaron Ritchie and Bruyel Ucelis working together on the clock. Our G.A. Moricarni has been roaming to take photos. And now it is Georgian court. In the 6-element solo, the start value for Georgian court is half a point higher at 8.85. Luann LeGregan, the junior out of Freehold, 3-year member of the team, 3rd-team All-State performer, All-Shore Conference gymnast at Freehold Township High School, won a state title in 2022 with the Patriots, their 4th title in 6 years. They were the first New Jersey public school to ever win 4 state titles in gymnastics. I believe former head coach Sierra Garcia's alma mater, St. John Vianney, has the New Jersey State record for public or private. SJV is a private. So we used to joke about that with Luann. So Luann LeGregan gets set. Top left of your screen, she'll emerge.
Next up in the 6-yard pass. The start value of 8.85. Georgian Board, number 21, LeGregan.
Over the years, we have watched LeGregan delight the crowd with her tumbling. And a deep breath from the junior.
Here she goes. Let's see a round off. Whip, whip, back handspring, full twisting layout with the hands touching at the end, so that will see some deductions in it. We talk about all the time about how those whips she's doing into a back handspring eliminate her power to be able to come into that. So it seems that she just didn't have enough power to complete that full there.
And she goes right over to the athletic training staff because former Georgian court certified athletic trainer Adriana's in the building. Adriana Siana. Always great seeing Adriana back on campus. And
always.
For a moment, it's funny, Luann deked me out. She went over to the certified athletic trainer, and then there was Adriana. She's on assignment tonight, and half the team went over to go say hello to Adriana.
A little bit of a shocker there. They weren't ready to see her.
That's the one time where it's permitted, I suppose, to leave the bench area.
Yes.
So our final heat is the open solo pass. 8.6 is the start value for Caldwell. Jill Riggio, the level 10 gymnast out of East Windsor, New Jersey, and 4-year letter winner at Caldwell. Looks sharp in practice.
All right, we're going to see a round off into an Arabian. Step out, round out back handspring, full twisting layout.
That was probably as clean as you can get in a solo pass.
And we haven't seen many Arabians yet this season, Andrew, so that was a nice little touch to see there.
Sure was. Open solo pass for Georgian court, Ali Pompliano. She has completed the solo pass in every Georgian court meet this season and has been really consistent. She just keeps inching closer and closer to a perfect 8. Her last time, 7.875. Pompliano is the sophomore out of Parlin, New Jersey. Second team All-State gymnast. She was also an All-Greater Middlesex Conference selection. That was on the at-large team. And the sophomore is ready to bring home the final heats of event number 5, the tumble. And then we'll take a break before we introduce the team event.
Up next in the open pass, the start value of 8.0. Georgian court, number 3, Ali Pompliano.
So here is Ali. One of the most dynamic tumblers in the state.
All right, round out back handspring, full twisting layout. Very clean.
That is what we have seen from number 3 all season long. We're taking a break, and then we'll get you set for the final event of the night. Team event coming. Let's talk a little bit about it. We like to call it up here organized chaos. It's the final chance to show off for the judges. Everything that has been attempted and completed in the first 5 events will take place in a routine that's set to music and lasts 2 minutes and 45 seconds. There can be at least 24 athletes on the floor at one time performing skills in acro, toss, pyramid, and tumbling. Judges are looking for synchronization of skills, stability of structure, body position, and technique of tumbling. It's a very fast-paced event, so be sure to keep your eyes on the mat. Scores are working the way in. We're going to give you the final scores after 5 in a moment. Caldwell had a brief lead over Georgian court.
Caldwell 7.475. Georgian court 6.575. And in the open heat, Caldwell 7.775. Georgian court 7.875.
Pompliano hit 7.875 again. Caldwell.
142.125. Georgian Court 135.625.
Well, you don't usually see Georgian Court give up ground in the tumbles, Sam, and they did. Caldwell, 43.375 to 39.575. They go into the team event with almost a 7-point lead. 142.125, 135.625. Georgian Court is really going to have to excel to have a shot here at the team event. It's not often you see a team outperform Georgian Court in the tumbles, and so credit to Caldwell tonight as they do over Georgian Court. The big difference, they had a 7.5 in the first heat. Georgian Court had a 6.8. They also had an 8.025 in the individual solo pass. Georgian Court had a 7.025. Here come the Cougars onto the mat. 2:45, organized chaos, set to music. All the skills that they have shown off thus far will take place right now.
All right, Andrew, where are you going to look?
DJ, play that music. That's what we're waiting for.
It's always that holding position, ready to go. Little technical difficulties.
Yes.
Raises.
All the wires unplugged here.
We just get a little bit of a breather there. They were holding their breath for a minute.
Oh, we might have a restart needed here. Georgian Court's at the scorer's table. Looks like they're going to try to find an alternate wire to get the music on. Katie Rivera, the assistant AD, has gone into her backpack. We're providing play-by-play here of this delay, and Georgian Court is trying to get the transmitter wire replaced. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey here to get the bad connector off. The new one is on, and
Caldwell is just dancing through it, ready to go.
Now they're ready. There was the lion snarl. That was quick.
Yeah, not too bad.
Off we go. Organized chaos.
What are you going to watch most, Andrew?
I'm going to take a look at the synchronized thigh stand pyramids, although we kind of both really like the dance at the end.
Yeah.
Here are the 4 thigh stand pyramids.
Those straddle holds up top. And those twisting dismounts.
They look synchronized on that dismount. 35 seconds gone by. Plenty of time for Caldwell, north of 2 minutes. Now it is time for synchronized acro. 7 are synchronized. At least that's the plan.
Looking good so far. Slight fall on that left side. We always jinx it, Andrew.
That was Vining that was caught in a tough spot.
Some tumbling going on. Round out back handspring. Full twisting layouts. Some regular layouts. And some back tucks.
1:15 on the clock. Synchronized tosses coming up. 3 groups are going to try. Nearing the end for Caldwell.
So those back tuck tosses save them a little bit in the middle there.
Tumbling passes.
Round out back handspring, full twisting layouts. And that pike hold.
Jada Soto. Almost the dance time.
Getting close to it.
Final tosses. Nice catches for Caldwell. They have 17 seconds to dance.
And here we go.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And we talked about Caldwell being up coming into that event, and they didn't make many mistakes at all. So Georgian Court's going to have a good team event here.
Their meet to win. Can Georgian Court respond? Team event score for Caldwell was a start value of 92.49. Georgian Court with a 91.6. They'll take to the mat next. Back inside the GCU Wellness Center, you see Georgian Court huddled in the middle of your screen out near the bleachers. They have a start value of 91.6 in this team event. Judges are still inputting the Caldwell score. And Sam, that was one of the better team events we've seen a team perform inside this building.
Yeah, I mean, I think that went pretty smoothly for them. They were amped up the whole time. Energy was high, which is important during that event. I mean, it's a long 2 minutes.
So Caldwell now going through the stretching portion after a long night at the office. And now it is Georgian Court. Our final look at Georgian Court at home in 2026. This is their third season as a team. They have LaSalle and Caldwell left on the docket. And that Caldwell meet next month is the second installment of the CACC Cup. Last year it was held in Lakewood. This year the venue switches to the Newman Center in Caldwell. And it is 6 p.m. on April 8th. Two schools reached out to the conference office and asked for permission to host the CACC Cup, and the league office said yes, and that's how we have gotten last year's first ever, and now it's an inaugural CACC Cup.
It's nice to have something to work towards.
Only two schools in the conference that offer acrobatics and tumbling at this juncture. There were supposed to be a couple of others, just didn't work out with Felician and Holy Family, but Georgian Court going strong, Caldwell going strong. You know, and there's no denying for both these programs, you have seen significant gains over the years. Georgian Court is one win away over their last three meets from tying their most in a season. Caldwell was 5-1 last year. Here is Georgian Court, front and center.
And the seniors' last time at home.
Yeah, we touched on that with Coach Gelati, and it'll be emotional, she said. Friends and family in attendance, last time competing in Lakewood. Expected big things from them. Georgian Court changed things up in the team event, and right out of the gate, little bit of trouble. But look, Caldwell had some trouble to start their team event and still rebounded to put together one of the better ones we've seen.
Yes.
However, with the issues Georgian Court had last week, kind of an inauspicious start.
And another fall in the back there, but hopefully they can recover.
Yeah, it's all about recovering, right? Not letting the miscues linger. You got to move on to the next. That's why it's on the sheet. Next. 45 seconds gone by.
All stuck landings there.
Caldwell entered this final event with the lead. Bridge bases getting into position. Synchronized pyramids now for Georgian Court. Three of them in the middle. Meyer, Mirasol, Salveson going to help support. Yakalo, LeGregan, DiPasquale.
They do have to bail out of that right side, but the other two held strong.
You noticing anything that's kind of led to Georgian Court's struggles here?
I don't know. I'm not sure, Andrew. I think that they're just not balancing as properly as they should. See some tumbling. All stuck there.
Bailey Bonilla doing a tumbling pass with Carolina Iacolo. A minute left. Don't forget, coming up post-meet, we're going to chat with Mags Gelati as part of the Stouts Transportation post-meet show.
Nice front tuck step outs off those tosses.
More tumbling passes, yep. 30 seconds. Final portion before the dance.
A little wobble there, but they recovered.
3 inversions from Georgian Court, and now it is the dance time. Georgian Court finishes off the team event with a dance, and from what we saw, partner, looks like Caldwell's going to come out on top tonight.
Yeah, that wasn't Georgian Court's best team event performance that they have had. A few more drops than normal, and like we said, they needed those points coming into this final event.
Yeah, that was uncharacteristic from Georgian Court. We'll talk with Coach Gelati about that. We're going to take a break. Final scores coming up. And as we wait for the judges to input their scores into the tracking sheet, Sam, this is our last home broadcast of the season. Always great working with you. Let's dissect tonight and the season, the third for Georgian Court. What's your biggest takeaway for this Lions team as they look to continue to build?
Yeah, I just think it's finding that stability and that consistency in their meets. And obviously, like we talked about earlier, their start values have been a little bit all over the place this season. So just working on finding a happy medium with that and being able to compete at your best capacity.
How does Georgian Court aim to bounce back with LaSalle on Sunday and then Caldwell in the season finale in early April?
I think it's just working on those small mistakes that they made today, kind of emphasizing those in practice over the next week, and being able to make sure they can potentially raise their start values just a little bit more so that they can compete at the end.
Caldwell having a dance-off in their huddle. Georgian Court kind of breaking stuff down, probably celebrating the seniors. Caldwell's going to improve to 2-3 this season. Georgian Court's going to slip to 2-3. They've lost 2 in a row. Caldwell ends a 3-meet skid. They are at Stevenson on March 29th and then host Georgian Court on April 8th in the CACC Cup. Georgian Court's also in action on the 29th at D1 LaSalle, and April 8th, the CACC Cup. Caldwell won it last year. They look to make it 2 in a row. One more break, and then the final scores. Here are the final scores.
Caldwell, 67.9. Georgian Court, 49.4.
67.9 to 47.4. Caldwell in the team event.
Caldwell, 210.025. Georgian Court, 185.025.
Caldwell defeats Georgian Court 210.025 to 185.025. They best Georgian Court by 25 and a 20.5 point difference in the team event. That is going to do it for our coverage during the meet. We're going to take a break. Mags Gelati is coming up on the post-meet show brought to you by Stouts Transportation. And we welcome into the Stouts Transportation post-meet show. We are joined now by Georgian Court head coach Mags Gelati. And coach, uncharacteristic there from Georgian Court in the team event. How do you get back into practice and work on that for the last 2 meets of the year?
I think we've definitely seen, their bodies are kind of struggling a little bit. We're kind of at that mid-season slump that happens sometimes, and I think we're really going to focus on recovery and just getting them back to feeling strong, and just kind of narrow in on some, we had some uncharacteristic, timing things and falls that, we haven't even seen at all this season. So I think it's just, getting their confidence back and getting more reps in.
Through no fault of your own with the schedule, because of the inclement weather, Georgian Court has been competing a lot. You have another one on Sunday. How much has that affected what you've hoped to implement this season?
It's definitely hard to go back to back to back. It's hard on their bodies. It's hard on their brains mentally. It's a lot to, not have very many practices in between meets because we obviously always have things that we want to work on and try to, get better before we compete again. And there's just a limit to how much their bodies can take sometimes. So it's trying to be mindful of that, but also, wanting them to have the confidence in their skills.
What should we look forward to on Sunday when you guys make the trek to PA to take on Division I LaSalle?
We're just looking to hit clean and confident and just, hopefully narrow in on some of the things that we struggled with today and just have a clean, safe meet.
Coach Gelati, it's been a pleasure chatting with you all 3 home meets this season. We look forward to chatting with you again real soon.
Thank you so much.
That does it for our coverage of acrobatics and tumbling here in 2026. We thank Coach Gelati for coming up each and every meet, win or lose, to share her insights on Georgian Court acrobatics and tumbling. I want to thank my broadcast partner, Sam Hasford, the Georgian Court Georgian Court women's lacrosse coach, for joining us each and every telecast over the last 3 years. That does it for our coverage of acrobatics and tumbling in 2026. On behalf of our great team, our camera operators from Georgian Court Volleyball, Kyla Davis and Ziana Frazier. Our producer is the director of digital media, Robbie Fitzpatrick. For my partner, Sam Hosford, I'm Andrew Burns saying so long from the GCU Wellness Center. Caldwell beats Georgian Court in the final home meet of the season for the Lions. They're back in action Sunday on the road in Pennsylvania against LaSalle. Our next broadcast is Thursday. Georgian Court in a makeup game has Lincoln on the diamond in Jackson. First pitch at noon. We will see you then.